Welcome back to page 121. Today we're going to take a look at a supplement from Mongoose, published in 2021, The Glorious Empire. Going to take a quick look through this book and tell you what's contained herein and how it ties in directly with the Pirates of Dranax, quite intentionally. Also a pretty neat traveler map feature inside here. So just going to take a look at the book, the contents, and let you know what I thought. Also, quick reminder, subscribers. I haven't done the rant in a while, so please, let's keep the channel growing. Also, please take a look at the Patreon, see if there's anything you can do to help out there. That's the end of the commercial. Back to the real stuff. The Glorious Empire from Mongoose Travelers, 2nd edition. Today on page 121. The Glorious Empire from Traveler Mongoose, 2nd edition. This is published in 2021 and authored by Christopher Griffin. Really nice job by Mr. Griffin. He's a very good traveler author. I like his style. It's very solid. So what we get in this book is a look at a rare thing in all of Traveler, but especially for Aslan races, or the race of Aslan in Traveler, and that is an empire that is built upon slavery. Not just slavery of other Aslan, although that does happen in edge cases, but primarily humanity. The Glorious Empire is not such a glorious empire. It is an Aslan splinter state, basically. Something that broke away from the Hierate years ago and created their own place in the Trojan Reach. We get a lot of information about the Glorious Empire in this book. We get a neat little item here. I've seen other things like it in Traveler Productions, where we get little icons that are flashpoints, key figures, and game changers. These are little sidebars that have these icons on them, and that lets you know that, hey, this could be a pivotal moment in the history of the Glorious Empire, so you might want to pay special attention to it, I guess. Basically, the Glorious Empire is an empire in decline. They are in decline for a number of reasons, one of which is the fact that they are built as a slave state, oppressing others to do your work. While it seems like a great idea on paper, in actuality is a horrible thing, and not very economically feasible in the long run. As the Aslan are finding out here. The Glorious Empire, I always want to call it the Glorious Vampire, by the way. I don't know why, it must be the D&D player in me. But the Glorious Empire split away from the Aslan Hierate years ago, hundreds of years ago, and crossed the Great Rift and ended up in Trojan Reach and establishing their own kingdom, or their own empire. Basically, once across the Great Rift, or the reason they crossed the Great Rift was they were at odds with the Aslan Hierate to begin with. They saw the chance to cross the Great Rift and create their own empire. The empire in question is, I'm going to do my best to pronounce this guy right, Tokue Wei. They were a group that didn't hold with a lot of the ideas that supported Aslan culture, and they didn't agree with the Hierate lording it over everybody, with the Council of 29 main worlds holding it over. Now, I'm not going to do the whole thing on Aslan in this video. I'm just going to throw out some stuff that is brought out in the book. I'll be doing another video on Aslan not terribly long from now, so I'm not going to go into a ton of it. But basically, these guys rebelled against the Aslan Hierate itself, crossed the Great Rift, and established their own empire. We get all of the information. Here's the Jump 5 route to cross the Rift, leaving the Aslan Hierate and going to found the Glorious Empire. And we get a lot of profiles in this book, a lot of important Aslan, especially a lot of important female Aslan. Female Aslan have an outsized role in the Glorious Empire. Since the empire itself is more a business of management, much of the powerful roles fall to females, which is a pretty neat twist in this one. So they've crossed the Great Rift, and they've become this glorious empire. And by Imperial year 1105, by the Imperial calendar, the glorious empire is very much a glorious empire in decline. They have lost most of their territory by this point, are hanging on by a dew claw to the former glory that was the glorious empire. And it's kind of neat because this gives your travelers a chance to actually be there and create moments in history. They're not just passive observers to history. To quote the great Roy Hess, if anybody knows that reference, leave it in the comments below. Passive observer to history, quotes Roy Hess. The You as the travelers have an opportunity to actually create history in this, and that's the whole point of these little icons, to tell you, hey, this is an important moment. We have the Emperor of the Glorious Empire, and he's really just a figurehead, and he spends most of his time studying ancient artifacts, and basically is a bit of a dilettante, although he can fight supports his role as the head of the Aslan Glorious Empire. But really, he's just a figurehead, and the military are who really run it. I always kind of got the idea that the author intended us to have the Emperor being much more than a figurehead and working his own long con. Some of the stuff is written where he's just spending his time studying ancient stuff, and they're bringing him different artifacts to kind of keep him quiet and happy. I always got the idea he was playing a deeper game. That would be definitely one way to run it. And we're going to continue on past the creation of the Glorious Empire. And then we end up, some nice artwork in this book, by the way. Exploring the Glorious Empire. Here we go. We get a good look at the Glorious Empire. And this takes us through pretty much the history of the Empire. We get to find out what it was like in its heyday, and then, of course, what it's like now. And there are a lot of references to Pirates of Drinax in this particular book. I liked that. It was a nice way to tie the two together. They take place relatively close to each other, and both are basically empires in decline. So you have an opportunity to mesh the two if you want. Fatir is basically the Aslan principle of honor, respect, tradition, and harmony of action. It's basically the glue that holds the feudal society of Aslan together. And Fatir can be interpreted a few different ways. And the Glorious Empire, they interpreted it to include enslaving Safant species, which is one of the major reasons that they're still split from the Hierit. And we continue on the Pax Tokugawa, basically Tokugawa. That's Gawi. It's a hard one to say. I don't know how you would say it. I don't try some of these Aslan words. Grand Emperor Krial. This is the gentleman I was talking about that, they tell him go sit quietly in the corner and play with his little histories. I think he's playing a deeper game. We continue on to the gender roles, which I said are unusually strong for females, especially we get into the fact that this is a declining empire. They're relying more and more on essentially black markets to get the parts they need and to keep things going. The females are incredibly important for that and are able to reap a lot of benefit financially, but also socially for it. And then, of course, there's Glorious Empire Day, the day they celebrate the founding of the empire. And on the home world, everything's fine. Everything's just wonderful. Just listen to the news broadcasts. Everything's going great. We're winning left and right. But in reality, no, not doing too well. And then the empire, again, hanging on by Duklaw. I love the Aslan artwork in this thing. We go into the topic of the enslaved humans and how billions of them have actually been freed as various chunks of the empire have fallen, and what to do with all these freed humans. Some of these humans were full grown, were taken as adults from technological societies and brought over to the Glorious Empire to try to keep it going. One problem that they have in the Glorious Empire is technical training, since that's an area that typically falls to feminine roles in Aslan society, the men being warriors. They do not have enough technicians, so they've had to either get some technicians who are already trained, in other words, enslave ship crews and such, or train up some slaves, something that they're loath to do. Another important aspect of the Glorious Empire is they've been fighting a losing war for at least 100 years, and because of that, whole generations of fighting males have been lost. So they've had to supplement their army with humans. They call them dog soldiers. And some are freed humans who still work with the Aslan, and others are just fodder that are thrown forward first before anybody else. Interestingly, the slaves are managed by the females, with the males coming in only 4 times of discipline. Slavery can be extremely brutal, Although, oddly enough, killing a slave, even your own, is viewed as bad manners because you're wasting a resource. And that's something Aslan don't believe in. So here we have a look at some of the people that oversee slaves and some of the slaves themselves. They try to bioengineer some of the slaves. By and large, slavery is abhorred throughout most societies, including the empire, and the Aslan Hayret as such does not allow it, but these guys are a faction that says, yeah, hey, it's good. There's a little critter that they ride around. Looks like a big aardvark with lots of, I don't know, it just looks like a big aardvark to me. Slaver all-terrain vehicle brought out here, and traveling in glorious empire space. Basically, if you're a human, you don't want to do that. No matter what your papers, no matter who your friends are, you could find yourself in a bad way very quickly in a slave state for humans. The military forces. This is interesting. The military forces, of course, being the backbone of the Aslan male role in society. The interesting aspect of the military forces is that they have found more success hiring themselves out as mercenaries. This being done to generate money to keep the glorious empire going. The females run the mercenary companies, the males do the fighting along with some freed humans, and off they go to fight in foreign wars. And the Aslan males actually prefer this because when they're fighting as mercenaries, generally they win. When they fight for the glorious empire, they're fighting a slow, grinding loss. So it's kind of an interesting dichotomy there. And with the Aslan Grand Fleet, their Grand Fleet was at tech level 14 at its peak. They still maintain some Jump 4 vessels to keep communications going, and they have a lot of warships. They have an inordinate amount of warships for any kind of state like this, but they're all in various stages of decay because they have just not been maintained because the Empire hasn't had the money. Some interesting stuff in this. I really enjoy this. They talk about the Aslan females being the pursers aboard the ships. They are basically the first mate, but also in charge of all the supplies and resupply, and that gives them an inordinately powerful position aboard a ship. And then we get the Imperial Guard, which are the elite troops that guard the Emperor and the homeworld. And then the mercenary forces I've already touched on a little bit, the dog soldiers. There's some dog soldiers in action. Glorious Empire Travelers. So this is how you would actually create a character from the Glorious Empires. I like that these books have these. You could find yourself, if you're from the Glorious Empire, you could find yourself as a slave owner. So what do you do with them? Do you keep them? Do you sell them? Do you just free them once you get them? It's really up to you as your character. We get here's a lot of careers. There's fleet officer, warrior officer, landless one. That's an Aslan who has no land. As everybody knows, or most people know, the Ihate are the second born and later sons of Aslan families. The Aslan drive is to get land. So the Ihate get together, form up these big fleets, and then they go invade. Well, the Glorious Empire has suppressed that in this version of their Aslan society. They don't want vassal clans here. They only want one united Glorious Empire. So they don't allow Ihate to go out and get land. So you could become a landless one. That's Ihate who's champing at the bit to go do what his cultural imperatives tell him to do, but his actual culture here won't let him do. Then you could be a slave. And then Worlds of the Glorious Empire. We go to the remaining Worlds of the Glorious Empire. This is a nice breakdown. You get a real good look at what's left of the Empire here, and I liked that a lot. So there you go. And the Jump 4 courier routes, as I've already talked about, that they keep the lines of communication open. Another critter. And then a riding critter. And we continue with the worlds. This was really good. This is a lot of the bread and butter of this book, including the home world. Now we're going to look at the former worlds of the Glorious Empire, ones they've lost recently or long ago. We get a nice look at a lot of them. So just as a source book for the worlds, this book is outstanding. And again, Christopher Griffin does a nice job with these. I'll try this one. Oiloi Manbrute. Basically a genetic experiment to try to create a stronger but more passive human slave resulted in these big Neanderthal type creatures that run wild. Some interesting stuff in this book. The Eagle of Nam. What did I do? Huh. I zapped this way ahead. Okay. Let's get back to the Eagle of Nam. There we go. There's our man brute. The Eagle of Nam. It's a primary conveyance for the high priest of the Church of Nam of the Goethe system. Goethel system. Basically, they've priests that have taken a religion and they've added psionics to it, and now they run an oppressive human state using religion as the thing to keep the people in line. Not just fear, but fear and fear of religion. An old tried and true way to do it, unfortunately. And then we have various other key worlds. Cromarian light cruiser. Lots of nice ships in here. Got the isometric maps still, but that's okay. These are still really nice. A stealth fighter, which is really good. I'm going through this very quickly. I know I'm glossing over a few of the key points, but this is just an overview of the book, not a detailed look at it. And now ideas for Glorious Empire campaigns. If you're going to actually campaign in the Empire, what are you going to be doing? Are you going to be playing as the bad guys, as a witness to history, as one of the generals who's a key maker or a key decision maker? There's a general, not even going to try the name. I struggle with some of these names. Slovian Laptor is a freed human who does her best to run an underground railroad to free other humans and get them out of Aslan space at great personal risk to herself. Aslan also engage in ancestor worship, which the Glorious Empire has tried to twist around to make emperor worship, as if the emperor were a god among Aslan. We get a great look at an orbital habitat, the trade commerce, and black markets. There's a lot about black markets in this book, which is really good too, because that would be an important part of an empire in decline, as I've already said. And then the females become very important because they're the ones that understand merchants and money. And then we get the soldiers of fortune. And then you can be heading to Rimward if you wanted to. Mercenary characters. Vanguard of the Empire. The mercenaries are regarded very highly as the way that the Empire is going to save itself. And then we have various patron encounters. Now we have an interesting part, the canon verse. I thought this is interesting. They wanted to show what happens to the Glorious Empire in the official Traveler canon, that is, after the rebellion in 1116, after the assassination of Strephon, and then the Aslan-i-Hate cross the Great Rift in numbers and start taking chunks of the Empire. In the canon of Traveler, that is also where the Glorious Empire falls. And this gives us a nice look at it. I thought this was a pretty cool idea. And then we're done here. And then the Hirat campaign itself. If you're going to be part of the Aslan Hirat that surrounds the Glorious Empire, it's another way to do the campaign. The Dust Belt campaign, if you're going to just be inside the Dust Belt, a section of the Trojan Reach. The Fall of Worlds. This tells us how the various worlds are likely to fall if you don't go with the canon of Traveler, which is, of course, the assassination. Using TravelerMap.com, I thought this was really cool. Because of the fluid nature of the borders of the Glorious Empire during your campaign, the writers of this book came up with the idea of showing Traveler Map as part of the official book, and how you can do something called poster making, where you can kind of go in and set up your own borders and then go ahead and show that to your players. So as things change, you can modify and update it on Traveler. And it gives a nice little tutorial on how to work it. I have not had a chance to play with this yet because I just read this over last night. And I love this section on the Traveler Map. I love Traveler Map. If you follow my channel, you know I'm a huge fan. Joshua Bell's intellectual child, if you will. And this is just another way to use it. I have not played with Poster Maker, but it sure looks cool. I love the idea of the fluid borders and you being able to change them to show your players. That's just a great idea. Now we get Central Supply Catalog of the Glorious Empire. Not an extensive thing here. A big section on the slave collars, including explosive collar Anybody who's seen Running Man has seen those in action. The 1980s Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. We get Field Flex Armor, which is pretty cool. Weapons. This basically just an Aslan dueling pistol. And then High Guard for the Glorious Empire. We get a look at some of the ships. And they go to, the authors go to point to say these ships are not just peculiar to the Glorious Empire. These could be used as any Aslan ships. Because the Glorious Empire is a splinter state does not mean they've abandoned all things Aslan. They've just interpreted it their own way. So these can also work in with your Aslan. There's an interceptor, the Suik class interceptor. There's a courier, the Huatoi class courier, a mercenary cruiser. Gotta love a mercenary cruiser. Dropship pinnace. Suikte class battleships. This thing is huge. It's 200,000 ton displacement. That is a nice ship. I got really happy when I read that one. I like the big ships in Traveler. I like the little ones too. I realize Traveler revolves around the little ones, but I still love reading up on a good, huge warship. Then we got a glossary of Aslan words and terms. And there have been these, this has appeared in a couple of other books featuring the Aslan. I'm always happy to have them. Aslan words like Volani words are just so hard to get out. And there's the back of the book. So that's a very brief run through on the Glorious Empire. You can watch The End of Days for Galactic Empire. I think that's a pretty cool book. I also like that it ties in with Pirates of Drinax in a lot of places. You have two similar situations going on. Drinax being the fallen, trying to revive itself, human empire, and of course the Glorious Empire and Empire Decay. So both are really good products, and I recommend the Glorious Empire as just a great read, if nothing else. I don't know that I'll ever run anything in the Glorious Empire, but I'm not saying that I wouldn't. I have no immediate plans for it, but I did enjoy this book for all the ideas it brought forth and all the tie-ins I can do if I move my campaign further south, if you will, further rimward into the Trojan Reach in that area. Or if I do start up my Pirates of Drinax, there's certainly ways I can interact with the Glorious Empire in that. So this is just great idea food, if nothing else, but certainly a campaign worth taking a look at. So that's all I've got to say today from page 121. I want to thank you for your time. Thanks for watching. Glad to be back on the regular shooting schedule, and I hope to stay here for the near to far future. So thank you for your time, and I'll see you next time on page 121.